Hi, my name is Kelly Reardon Slater. I am the Associate Program Director for the Entrepreneurship Center here at RPI. I get to work with students all across campus who have ideas for products and services that they would like to see turned into businesses. I also get to work with students who are interested in beefing up their resumes a little bit before applying for jobs and internships, and they're looking for some practical hands-on experience, which they can get through the entrepreneurship programs. I'm glad you chose to explore their Entrepreneurship Center a little bit more. Not everyone will be an entrepreneur in their life, but if you can learn to think like an entrepreneur, you'll have a skill set that you can add to your toolbox that all employers are looking for. In the next few minutes, I'll do an exercise that will help you learn how to come up with an idea that you'll be passionate about working on. If you already have an idea and you're looking for information on our competitions and challenges, skip ahead to about the 16-minute mark, and I'll see you there. So what I'm going to talk to you about today is how to identify an idea, because some students come to me and they just don't have ideas. So we're going to do just a quick activity. I'll also explain a few of our entrepreneurship programs and resources around campus. I'll share with you a few students who are actually doing entrepreneurship while taking credit full-time. And most importantly, I'll show you how to find the best food on campus. So when we talk about entrepreneurship at RPI, we kind of separate it into 4 different categories. One is communities that we build. Another are competitions that we host. The culture on campus is important to us, so we invest in that as well. And then courses that kind of underline everything that you can take at the Lally School and other schools on campus if you're interested. Here's just a few of those in each category, and I'll talk about them today quickly. So I love this particular entrepreneur, Joe Procopio. He calls himself a multi-failure entrepreneur, but he's also exited multi-times too. So he says almost all ideas die because they never become actions. And that's very understandable. Everyone is busy. Everyone has ideas. We actually say ideas are like belly buttons. Everyone has one, right? So what we want to be able to do is help you take those ideas and put them into actions so that you can actually move forward and see if they're worth investing your time in. So we want you to think about us as a tool that you can put in your toolbox. Things that we're going to teach you about in entrepreneurship, how to do certain things, to assess the market, prepare to talk to customers. We want those to all be tools that you can put in your toolbox to either use now or use later. If you don't think that entrepreneurship is right for you right now, put these in your toolbox and access them later. Maybe when cubicle life and the industry you choose isn't right, you're just getting tired of it and bored, pull out those tools later and you can try entrepreneurship then. Some of the things that we offer, we run competitions every semester and challenges. Those are for cash. Our biggest one is in the spring. As you can see that $8,000 check that student's holding. He won our business plan competition. We also hold educational pop-ups to help you get ready for each of those competitions or challenges. We also have multiple networking events throughout the year. And that's one of the things that I encourage you to get right on as soon as you get here is start networking and build that network. We have inspirational speakers. And then we also do one-on-one coaching and mentoring. Myself, I do them. And we also have entrepreneurs and residents who are experienced and they want to help. So they do that as well. So when we talk about entrepreneurship, we want you to know you don't have to be an entrepreneur to take part in our programs. So some of the programs that we have are things where you can pitch a problem, you can pitch an idea, maybe dig a little bit deeper into the idea, figure out the unknowns about your particular business model, your business concept. But what if you don't have an idea? So I wanted to explore that a little bit because sometimes students are coming to me saying, I just don't have an idea, but I do want to give entrepreneurship a try. Maybe I want to build up my resume a little bit with this, practical experience. So how can I get started? Well, today I want to share with you 4 ways that you can come up with ideas quickly that will maybe give you some place to start if you do want to try entrepreneurship on for size. Because this is a great way to get optional practical training, also get just practical experience to add to your resume. And again, it'll get your feet wet if you do want to start a business. So here's the first way. I'm going to drop this into chat. You can follow along or you can access later. But it's something that I'm going to show you, and I'll use my own examples today just to go through. So this is called Pilot Your Purpose. I borrowed this activity from an organization called Teaching E, and they teach entrepreneurship educators across the globe how to engage students. So hopefully this is going to be engaging for you. When students talk to me about what they want to do, I say, whatever it may be, whether you're going to go into industry or you're going to go into become an entrepreneur, make sure you're passionate about what you're doing, because you're going to be spending a boatload of time doing it. And you're going to be pretty intimate with that for a very long time. So then you might ask, well, how do you find your passion? And the first place you want to start with your passion is to find your interests. Think about those. What is it that interests you? What draws you to certain articles that you read, or maybe what interests you when you get on social media or YouTube platforms, things like that. What's going to draw your interest? To that, add your skill set. What are you good at? What are other people saying you're good at? What would you maybe like to improve? When you add interests and skill sets, that's where you get passion. Now, this is a great place to start. You can stop right here and work on your passion, start a business with your passion, or go into an industry position based on your passion. There's nothing wrong with that. But in the true nature of RPI and our motto, I want to ask you, don't you want to change the world? So in order to do that, when you combine passion and impact that you'll have on the world, that's when you come up with your purpose. So when we talk about finding a place to start, digging deep and finding your purpose is one place you can get started thinking about entrepreneurship. So let's get started with this activity and I'll show you what I came up with. A couple quick questions. These are things you can just ask yourself. Take a few minutes, answer these questions. See if they help you find your passion and then ultimately your purpose. What do my friends say about me that I'm always talking about? Well, these are 3 areas that I'm always talking about. Animal protection. I love to work with my hands and handmade gifts to give to people, and student entrepreneurship is always on the top of my tongue when I'm speaking. But if I never had to worry about money and I spend my time creating and building something, what would I do? I would probably build an animal care center. I really love working with animals. So that's what I came up with. And then the last time I was working on and getting caught on social media, that I lost track of time. A few things that I had gotten into was looking about entrepreneurship, also looking at paper crafting, something I picked up this summer that I really like working on. And I'm a woodworker, so I love to find different ways and best practices to work with wood. So those are a few ideas about my interest. Let's look about my skills, see if we can put these 2 together to figure out my passion. What my friends say I'm good at. They might say, if I ask them, that I'm pretty good at graphic design, I have a good fashion sense, I love working with creative crafts, and connecting people to resources is something that I'm pretty good at. I like being a connector. Now, when I ask myself, what would I be interested in getting better at? What are a couple of the things that I want to improve about my skill set? Marketing my own business. I am an entrepreneur. That's something that I'm always interested in improving. And handling emotion during conflict. That's something that I like to be able to improve upon myself and then help others as well. So this last way to look at your skill set, what would you say you're above average at? When I asked myself that question, I said, I'm above average at woodworking. I really love to coach students and people to pitch. That's something I've done hundreds and hundreds of times. And then again, handcrafting with different textiles was something that I believe I'm above average at. Now we have the skills mapped out. Let's see if we can pull that together and figure out what our passion is. So this set of questions says, all right, let's look back at your interest sheet and see what you are most excited about. So here's my interest sheet again. I'm going to say of all these answers that I gave, I'm going to choose animal protection. So when we go back to the passion page, I'm going to put animal protection in here. That is something that I'm really interested in. So then the second set says, go back to your skills page and what are you interested in getting even better at? So let's see, I think I would choose probably marketing my business. That's something that always needs improvement. It's something that I put on the back burner too often. So that's what I'm going to enter there. Now, what would be ways that I could combine these 2 things? I had to ask myself, and look at some of the examples on the bottom. That might help you too if you're going through this. And I said, putting the 2 together, maybe I could do promoting animal advocacy efforts. That's a way of, working with my marketing skills that I want to improve, and then also consider animal protection in the same sense. So, all right, cool. I found a passion. Now, again, like I said, I can stop right here and work on this. I could figure out, I could either create a consultancy, I could work with a nonprofit organization, I could do a bunch of things working with animal advocacy and helping promote their efforts. But let's go a little bit further and see what kind of impact I want to make. So step back from everything that you've said already on the other sheets and say, what type of people would I like to work with? That's one area when I talk to students, I tell them, just if you don't have an idea yet, who do you want to work with for a long period of time? Because if you're building a business, you're going into industry, these groups of people are the people that are going to be surrounding you for a long time. So here's a few that I chose for myself. Veterans, the elderly, financially disadvantaged, or animal lovers. So now ask yourself a similar question, but think about it more local problems within your community. What are some problems that you'd like to solve within your community? So I put in here surviving the Valley of Suck. Now I'll share that's a term that's been coined by one of our faculty members, which we hold near and dear to our heart, Professor Ballinger. He loves this term because it's the period of time between when you're in entrepreneurship, between coming up with an idea and actually making money with that idea. Everything in between, he calls the Valley of Suck because it's really hard to get through. So if I could help the entrepreneurs in our area get through that and survive, that would be a local problem I'd like to be able to help. And again, animal rights legislation in our area can always use improvement. So I would definitely help in that area locally. Now ask these questions at a global scale. What would you like to help out at on a global scale if you were to be able to make an impact? Mental illness is something that I really am passionate about. Also, animal rights legislation is going to come up again, and then sustainability is of interest as well. So we're just brainstorming here. There's no right or wrong answers when you fill this out. So now we're at the purpose. And remember, when you're bringing your purpose, you're bringing your passion with the impact that you want to make. So we're combining those two together. So reflecting back on my passion page, what really stands out to me here, if I were to move forward with an idea, is probably animal advocacy. So we're going to enter that here. And then let's look back at our impact sheet and see what stands out. Mental illness is something that's been in the headlines and it just does not go away. And it's a personal issue as well. So it's something that I think I would like to work on. So I'm going to add mental illness here. Now, this is when you kind of take a breath and say, all right, these are two categories that are really of interest to me. How can I put these together to represent the purpose that I want to have in life? So I took a little bit of time and this is what I came up with. What if I were to use animals to fight mental illness? That's something that I think might work. If I were to pair animals who have special abilities to work with those who are mentally handicapped or just need a mental boost or just getting throughout the day, support animals. So that's an idea. I went through that in just a few minutes, right? You can too. And that can come up with a purpose. Now, again, this is just one brainstorming effort to be able to help you come up with an idea that you'll be passionate about and maybe actually make an impact with if you move forward with it in the entrepreneurship set. So that was one. I told you I was going to give you 4. So the second area where you can think about coming up with ideas is by getting inspired. Whatever it is that inspires you, if it's listening to TED Talks, going onto YouTube, following some people in an industry that are champions and give really good talks, awesome. There's one way you can do it through RPI, and that's a course that we created last year called Impactful Innovators. We bring back alumni from all different fields and different industries to talk about their entrepreneurial journey or their innovation journey. Not all of them are entrepreneurs, but they've all had an impact with innovation. So this particular course is just 1 credit, and you can take it multiple times too. So we'll have different speakers each semester. If it's something you can fit in, I encourage you to give it a shot. That QR code will bring you to our YouTube playlist,
to give you an idea of some of the speakers and what they talked about the last year. We had fun with this one. Now, a third way to come up with an idea if you don't have one for entrepreneurship is this problem book. This problem book is a virtual book. We have put it on our website, and you can follow the directions on the bottom of the screen there to find it. But what we've done is curated a list of actual industry problems. We came up with these industry problems and validated them by bringing our students to conferences and trade shows, setting them loose on the trade show floor, and having them talk to people in any particular industry that that conference was surrounding, and ask them, what are things that you're having trouble with? What are your customers asking for that you're not able to provide? What would you love to partner with to move forward on to help someone with? And these are all problems that these people are working in the industry day in and day out. So who better to ask if there is a problem in an industry that needs fixing than those people, right? So we've done multiple trips like this. We've taken students to New York City and to Boston to different conferences, and we hope to do so again when our travel restrictions are lifted. But in the meantime, this virtual book will share with you those problems that those students have found. We put them all into one place so you can kind of peruse those. So instead of giving you an idea to work on, I'll give you a book of problems for you to look through, and maybe one of those problems will spark an interest that you have some passion about, and you can move forward with that. So that problem leads us right into our first competition of the semester. This competition is called the Problem Challenge. You don't have to have an idea to come into this challenge. Anyone can participate, and you could win $500. This particular competition says we don't want to know anything about a solution to the problem. We only want to talk about the problem. We want you to tell us about the problem in 3 paragraphs and submit them to us online, and then get ready and give us a 2-minute live pitch so that a live panel of judges can review it and give you some feedback and choose some winners. So we give out 6 $500 prizes each semester to students who just want to talk about problems. If you think this is something that's of interest, again, it's open to everyone. It doesn't take that much of your time, and you could win $500 doing it. So I'll be putting out messages through social media and through email. Okay, the last way that if you want to work on ideas and you're just not sure how to get started is a program called ICOR, and it stands for Innovation Corps. It's funded by the National Science Foundation here in the US. Domestic and international students can participate in it. It's a program that was started by this foundation because they are the organization that funds billions and billions of dollars of research in our country. They spend so much money every year. Their intent is to have these researchers that they grant money to commercialize what they come up with in their labs and their engineering centers. But when that wasn't happening as much as they wanted, they came up with this program and said, okay, maybe you just don't know how to move those research ideas forward. So this program teaches scientists and engineers and students like yourself how to look at those early stages of commercializing an idea right out of the lab or right out of the center. Where you come in this play, coming in without an idea, we will pair you up with a researcher on campus who's doing active research in one of many different areas, who are interested in commercializing their ideas, but they just maybe don't have time at the moment, or they need assistance. So you're going to be the person who goes out and starts to validate some of the unknowns about commercializing that particular idea. So it's a pretty cool experience. Again, something you can add to your resume, having taken part in. Each time we run it, it's a 4-week program. We do award money to the team so that you can travel when the restrictions are lifted, to visit customers, to actually talk to them and figure out some of these unknowns. Also to make purchases for ways that you can get to those customers if you can't travel to them. You know, increasing your subscription to LinkedIn to a pro level, or using other software subscriptions to be able to help you access those individuals you need to speak to so that you can figure out these unknowns in this area this researcher is working in. This is a way of addressing a broader impact that you can make with a particular idea through research and partnering on campus with that academic. Okay, so there's the 4 ways you can get started with ideas if you don't have one. Now you have an idea, right? Hypothetically. What's the next thing you're going to do? Well, build it, right? That's the best part. Everyone loves to get their hands dirty and work with their hands and their minds. And, let's start writing some script, let's start doing some additive manufacturing and 3D printing and give me those pieces of wood. Let me get started. Well, what we want to tell you is stop. Don't start building yet. When you're thinking about working on this idea as a business and an entrepreneur, we want to make sure you're working on the right thing. Now, this seems silly, but the biggest source of waste in a startup is building something that nobody wants. And you would think, what? Who would build something that nobody wants? Well, it happens all the time. And it's the biggest reason why startups fail, is because the entrepreneurs just aren't in tune with what people in the market that they're trying to sell to, what they actually want and need. The way that we get around this is by talking to people, talking to strangers. Even though your parents or guardians might have said, don't talk to strangers when you're young, we're actually telling you we want you to talk to strangers, because that's the only way you're going to find out if this is the right thing for the market. Are you solving the right problem, a big enough problem? You won't know until you ask. This leads us into the second competition we offer each semester, and that is the Change the World Challenge, also known as the Solution Competition. So this is where we are going to ask you about the solution you came up with, the idea. And again, it's a 3-paragraph submission. We want you to answer these questions, and then there's a pitch at the end. Well, you might say, I don't know how to answer these questions. Well, we're going to help you, because we offer pop-ups that are real short workshop sessions that can help you answer each of these. So you really need to know who to talk to or how to reach them in order to figure out what the potential customers want, right? We're going to help you with that. We'll figure out who the customers are, where you might be able to find them, and more importantly, how do you talk to them to get them to tell you about the problems that they're having, so that you can say whether or not your solution is going to work to figure out and solve that problem. And ultimately, this is a pitch competition. So when you pitch that live, and this is a 5-minute pitch, you can win $1,000. We give out multiple $1,000 prizes each semester. This is something you can do as an individual or a team, but it's another way just to have fun, add to your resume, put some cash in your pocket, hopefully, and enjoy the semester. So one other way that you can continue working on ideas, say you go through these challenges and competitions and you're doing really well. You're hearing from the market that this is something they want and need and is solving a problem that they have. Well, how do you keep working on it when you're still a student and you have a full course load? Well, we actually offer classes in Lally that you can take and work 100% of the time on your business idea. So these two in particular are taught by Professor Ballinger. He's a blast to be in his class. He's very great at talking about his failures as an entrepreneur so that you can avoid some of those and then learn from some of those ideas as well. Now we have over $150,000 to give away to students and teams just like yourself who are interested in giving entrepreneurship a shot. This is something that all you have to do is say, all right, I'm interested. Let's get started. Besides the competitions that I talked about and joining the pop-up workshops so you figure out how to do it, we have resources on campus that can help. These are with the fun part, the building part. So if you're interested in prototyping and working with your hands to create minimum viable products, MVPs, as we say, there's 9 maker spaces on our campus. They cover everything from wood and metal shops to 3D printing. There's so many 3D printers on campus. There's also an electrical shop with lots of digital components and circuit boards and soldering machines. We have CNC machines in the fabrication centers. We can also do molding and plotting, lots of woodworking and laser cutting machines as well. This is another makerspace called The Forge. This one is the only one that's actually run by students, student volunteers. They have lots of experience and they love to help. And the most recent one that we have on campus is the AR/VR one called Rave, where there's students and there's researchers on campus working in the space of augmented reality and virtual reality to improve different aspects of life. There's lots of different examples. I encourage you to check that out. This is one of the cooler spaces on campus too. Now, I'm gonna just jump on my crate here and give you some free advice really quick, is to start building your network now. You know, from day one, you become a Rensselaer alum, and assuming that you chose Rensselaer for its brand and its well-known group of alumni in the thousands, start tapping into that brand and that group of alumni immediately. And ways you can do that is by joining different networking activities through Lally and on campus. So one of those activities in the entrepreneurship field is Foundry. This is a group of students that meet weekly when we can get back together. And it's a group of hackers and builders and designers and people with ideas, and some people who are already making money with entrepreneurship, but others who are just starting out. It's kind of lots of different people and skill sets that they all come together and help each other move ideas forward. So this is one place where you can find others that are like-minded and help you move your idea forward, or help you find someone you can work with. Now, another place that we have networking is called Startup Tech Valley. This is a meetup event that happens every month, again, when we get back to in-person activities. And we've had 200 companies on stage. The format for this is an hour of networking in the evening, followed by an hour of startup pitches. So there are companies from the region that need a hand up. And so they get on our stage and they give a pitch and they ask for help. They might ask for student interns. They might ask for partners or introductions into a specific industry, whatever it is that they need to get their business over that next hurdle. So we've had 200 of these companies on our stage in the last 6 or 7 years. And we hope to have another great lineup soon as we can get back together in person. There are 10 entrepreneurs in residence associated with us at RPI who have boatloads of experience in different industries. So they volunteer their time to work with students that are interested in entrepreneurship. Maybe you have a question as a student entrepreneur. We don't necessarily have the skill set in that particular area to be able to help you. We're gonna, pass it out to one of these entrepreneurs in residence so that they can help you. That's what they're there for, and that's what they love to do. You'll also see that they are great people to network with. Add them to your LinkedIn profiles, and they'll be judges and coaches throughout the year for our competitions as well. We're on the 4th floor in the Pittsburgh building, so you can stop in anytime. But let me tell you the fun part. I love talking about our students, and so I'll give you a few examples quickly, and then we'll go to questions. This is Alex. I don't have a picture of him, but there's a QR code that's going to bring you to an intro video that he did for this competition he was involved in. So Alex is a PhD student who was working in a lab in the chemical engineering department. He worked with a researcher who was working on creating synthetic silk. So if you don't know, silk is made from silkworms, which is an animal. So there's limits to the ability of production when you are dealing with animals producing something. So they wanted to produce it synthetically in the lab. They were able to successfully do that. So then Alex came in and said, well, how can we commercialize this? What will this be useful in? So he came into one of our programs and tested out different industries where this particular material might be useful. It was a very strong additive that you can add to things. So he looked at areas like the aeronautical industry. Could I put it into a material that could make an airplane core stronger? Maybe I can just make silk scarves with it because it's vegan, and maybe vegans will prefer to have silk that's not made by an animal. Or what he ended up with after a couple pivots is a food coating. So he takes this protein, this synthetic protein silk, mixes it with some water and sprays it onto fresh produce, and it elongates the life of that produce by like tenfold. significant savings and reduction in food waste. So he has won a couple of our competitions. He's now working at moving his idea forward, validating it outside of the lab, and then scaling it into production. So he's a pretty interesting student. Now, not all of our students are technical and research-based. This particular entrepreneur was here from Spain. He was doing a study abroad. And when COVID struck the US and the globe last spring, he went home to Spain and learned that Spain was in just as bad of a situation as America was. And his dad's business was shut down. But he decided, since no one was using his dad's manufacturing facility, he could use the machines to create those plexiglass barriers that we're now too familiar with and we see in restaurants and markets and convenience stores. So he ended up using some of his dad's contacts for suppliers. He got the materials in, he did all the cutting on site, packaged them up, and he was selling his product through hundreds of orders within the first 2 weeks of being home, which is pretty phenomenal. So he was actually even selling on Amazon at one point. So not everything has to be technical at RPI. They can be simple B2B sales or B2C sales, business to consumer. For the sake of time, I'm going to jump ahead and tell you about one or two of our alums who are doing really well. So this is a well-known team that came out of Rensselaer in 2007. They were both in the mechanical engineering program and took a class called Inventor's Studio. They were really inspired. They came up with an idea to use mushrooms and the inner workings of a mushroom and combine it with agricultural waste to create this new material that ended up substituting styrofoam for packaging. So it took them a while, but they ended up running for at least 3 years just on competition prize money. They got really good at it. They didn't have to take any investment 3 years in. And they created this material and ultimately got contracts with a Steelcase, which is an American-made company that creates office furniture. And so they were using their material that is sustainable and recyclable to package and safeguard their products when they were being shipped. So from there, they exploded from being a packaging material to producing skincare products with this technology to animal-free leather. And their latest is that they are creating a vegan bacon. It actually hit stores this past year. So that's one of our success stories in that space with our alums. This is another one of our favorite alums, and then I'll wrap up after this. This is Colleen. She graduated in 2012 with a biomedical degree, and she took minors in technological entrepreneurship and psychology. She participated in almost all the competitions, challenges, and programs that we put her way, and she did really well. What she did was she created a disinfection light using a white light that is safe for humans, but will disinfect and kill bacteria and viruses that are on surfaces, up to 99% effective, and again, safe for humans. The current solution when she was going into this field was a solution that used light, but the light was harmful to humans. So think of a hospital setting when they were trying to sanitize, say, a surgical suite, they would roll in this device, they'd turn it on, but they'd have to vacate the room. An hour or so later, they could go in, take the device out, and the space was clean. Well, Colleen's solution, which is now actually available on Amazon, and she's created a consumer product with it as well, is to be able to keep these lights on all the time. They can be used in hospital settings, they've been used in locker rooms, and they're also used in the produce section of grocery stores. So you can put them under cabinet lighting in your own home. We're really proud of Colleen. She's still in the area and working with this technology. So now I told you I'll jump ahead. I was going to tell you where the best food on campus is, so I won't leave you hanging. The best food on campus is anywhere you see this symbol, because this symbol is what represents our programming, entrepreneurship at RPI, and we offer the best food at our programs. So anywhere you see these flyers, We use emails that talk about entrepreneurship at RPI. We always have food when we're meeting in person, so follow the directions to those meetings and you'll find some awesome food. Now you can learn more about us and follow what we're working on through our Discord channel and also through some other platforms that we have through social media. So if you have the motivation, there is the opportunity to change the world. You can get started with entrepreneurship. I look forward to meeting you all. No, it can be theoretical. So it does not have to be applied and feasible yet. It can be theory-based. That's absolutely okay. When you come in with that idea, what we're gonna do is help you figure out the feasibility. So we're gonna help you talk to customers to see, one, is it worth investing your time in because it's a problem that they want solved and therefore will pay money for? Or if not, then great, you didn't spend time, money, and energy working on prototyping, building, only to learn, again, nobody wants what your idea was. So coming in with a theoretical idea is a safe bet. It's a good way to go. Where do you start? Which one do you move forward with? Well, go through that passion exercise, see which one pops out on top. If you're still struggling, take maybe the top 2 or 3. And what we teach is called customer discovery. We want you to go out and talk to potential customers, not about your idea, but about the problem you're solving. So you're not giving away any of your secret sauce of your ideas, but you are asking open-ended questions so that you can figure out if there is an interest out there for a solution similar to what you're thinking about. And you can do that quickly. You can do it with, within a week or 2 weeks, you can get a good idea of whether or not your solution is needed in the market. And you could do that with no money at all.